And bring up my camera. Oh, and Denise is back. Hello again. All right. So, what I want to talk about first is kind of I want to talk about the waves that this particular phase of this reset, the waves that we're going to experience. And Audrey's just connecting in from Mexico, so we might see she might drop out a couple of times. But I see it spinning. There she is. How's it going, Audrey?
Good.
Good. Yeah, so my intention today is to give people a context for what's happening right now, but I'm not going to use the charts so much to illustrate this. I might reference here and there. But I've talked about this in the past, how Bitcoin has always kind of been that first one out of the gate on every run that we've ever had within crypto. And Bitcoin being kind of that leader, the others follow weeks later. It's always been that way. But this time, there's actually a little bit of a twist in the story. Right now, Ethereum is kind of lagging. And we've been seeing it, well, basically since the election. It went up a little bit, but it didn't experience the same aha or wow factor that Bitcoin or even some of the other altcoins have had. And there's a specific reason for that. People are getting distracted by things like AI, video gaming, especially memes. I mean, take a look. Trump came out with his own meme coin right before the inauguration, and within a period of 12 hours, garnered a dilated volume of $80 billion in 12 hours. For whatever reason, people are gravitating towards these specific assets. And I think that they are being deliberately distracted. This is the thing in the markets, and this is something that we've known about for a long time, well into like 2012, 2014. We've known that the markets themselves have got their own media institutions to feed the truth, right? The information to all of the people who are trading. And that media is designed. And right now, people are really consumed with AI and meme coins. And they're going to town with it. In fact, we've brought up a few charts even. The SPX 6900, a little group of people that have come together that is growing now to a larger group. But that group has the wholehearted belief and conviction that as a community, they would be able to replace the stock market, the S&P 500. That by doing this, by making this transition and by spreading the word, they're going to accomplish their mission. And they launched a meme coin to coincide with their movement. And it's one of the highest performing, as far as people putting skin in the game, one of the highest performing coins in the entire meme coin ecosystem. And there are other ones as well people are gravitating towards. And I don't think it's wrong. I really don't. We're here to capitalize on these movements. I'm of the mind that every cryptocurrency is a meme coin, because really they're all just communities of people coming together with aligned values, trying to make something work, trying to make their visions come to fruition. But here's what everyone's missing. The hype is in AI and these meme coins. And if you haven't noticed, there's actually now a trade war going on with AI. Trump just gets inaugurated and out of the gate announces a $500 billion infrastructure to build AI for America. And he's even selected the partners. He's even said that Sam Altman with OpenAI or ChatGPT is crowned victor of this great infrastructure that they're going to get to build it. So $500 billion. They plan on putting together 10,000 GPUs all in line. So just network more and more and more computers to be able to process all of this AI that they're going to need, presumably to run the country and all the rest. I think that that is, again, just a smokescreen, trying to garner as much interest as possible into AI. And here's why. And it's going to tie in with why Ethereum hasn't been performing the way that Bitcoin has, even though time's up. If we take a look at all the other cycles, Bitcoin does its thing, goes up the mountain, and then comes back down. And Ethereum always makes very similar moves, but it always does it 6 weeks, 2 months later after Bitcoin does it. And in the past, that's just been what's been going on. This time, it wasn't expected because when Bitcoin was going up, AI coins came up as well, real fast. And so it was expected that Ethereum would perform more, and it hasn't. The math said that it would, but it hasn't. And now we come up to the ETFs. So going back to the beginning of 2024, the Security Commission approved the issuance of ETFs. These are future trades. These are trading futures on Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin's not built that way. And so they actually have to create a financial instrument to make it happen. But what people don't realize is that when people are buying ETFs, they're not buying them on chain. And so they're not affecting the price. It's like they're being bought off books. And right now, Bitcoin and Ethereum, they have already, through ETFs, issued and put into circulation about 1% of the total supply of Ethereum. Now, if we take another step back, take a look at what happened 2012, 2013 with the Libor scandals. This is where the fractional reserve banking was getting out of hand, and they were lending out money in order to pay the executives and the derivatives and all of the profit shares and all that stuff. They were going into leveraged debt to accomplish this. And so that fractional reserve banking style that created that scandal is being applied to cryptocurrencies today. And again, why is that? The buying that these companies who issue the ETFs, MicroStrategy does it, BlackRock does it, Vanguard, we've got JP Morgan, we've got all of the Chase banks and they've all got the ability to help their customers purchase ETFs. Those ETFs, not affecting the price, are being used to back the next asset class. And I've talked about this. It's real world assets. Now, the real world assets that I've been watching and wanting to partake in are more geared towards AI. And the reason why is because I believe that we are seeing this bubble right now. The real world asset model is, let's take something that actually has tangible real world value and assign it to a token. Let's assign it to something on chain so that it becomes a tradable, so it becomes something we can use as transactions. If I have a contract with someone who wants to build a website, I could actually create that contract and tokenize it and put a value behind it. And we agree in that contract that that's how much it's worth. Well, that contract is a real world asset because there's actual real money being transacted to make that contract happen. I'm not going to do the contract unless the payment is fulfilled. That contract and that payment is a real world asset, especially when they're lined up together. But real world assets can extend to other things too. For instance, in AI, a real world asset is going to be people buying computers, putting it in their homes and connecting it to a network to provide computing power for a decentralized network of other peers who are also contributing computing power for that AI. And so now our computers in our homes can help with the decentralization of the process of information that AI needs to complete. That's another real world asset, a computer in your home providing computing power for AI. But there are other types of real world assets. For example, if you have land or land titles, if you've got property, rental property, if you've got a boat, all of those things are real world assets. But there's another class of real world assets that people are not paying attention to, and it ties in with these ETFs. The ETFs that are being issued fractionally reserving amounts of the asset before they're even in existence. Those ETFs are actually being used by the BlackRocks and Vanguards and JP Morgans to create a real world asset ecosystem for all of our phone bills, electricity bills, water bills, your condo fees, you name it. I've been complaining about Ethereum all this time, thinking to myself, it's a shit coin. I mean, who wants to go and buy a $25 asset and have a $25 transaction fee? Nobody wants that. And Ethereum is one of the worst because when the network is busier, they charge more money for the transaction. So, for instance, in the last bull run that we had right after the election, there was a transaction that I did, was a $500 trade I was making. The transaction fee on that was $100. And the time before that, in the cycle that we had before that, when things went really crazy in 2021, some of the transaction fees were $200 US. Ethereum isn't meant to be something that we use day to day. Ethereum has actually this whole time been setting themselves up to become an operating system for trade for large corporations who wish to assign smart contracts to real world assets, but we're talking big ones. A $200 transaction, if you're dealing with the sale of a home, is a hell of a lot cheaper than getting a lawyer to act as a trustee on that transaction, right? Because they usually take $1,500, $2,500 for the transaction of the house, just the lawyer fees. Well, now Ethereum can accomplish that. We don't need any lawyers to provide any trusteeship for the transaction anymore because the blockchain does that for us. So a $200 transaction on a $500,000 house, but these ETFs, they don't have those transaction fees. They can just buy, and they can buy at cheap prices. In fact, I saw, I think it was on Friday last week, ETFs for Bitcoin were actually $68 cheaper than spot price. They were selling them on the market, actively selling them on the market at cheaper than what the actual price was. So this is happening off the books. So we don't see the effect of the price on Ethereum. But meanwhile, all of these real world asset companies, your cell phone companies, your water companies, your energy companies, every monthly bill you have, your credit card company, they've got a contract with you as well. That's a real world asset because they know they're going to get the interest from you. All of these things are real world assets. And what's happening underneath all of this distraction of AI and memes and video gaming are the real world assets that the big corporations are putting underneath their ETFs. So we don't even know exactly what's going on with the price anymore. Who knows what they could do anything they want because they can manipulate the market now. Does that make it bad? Does that make it where we can't make money? No, not at all. In fact, knowing that that's how the system runs puts you in the driver's seat. If you're not aware of all of this and you go into the markets pushing buttons like trading money, real money, and you're not aware of what's going on, you will be susceptible to whatever the media tells you is going on. But recognizing the pattern and seeing the strategies of these corporations and how they're basically enveloping everything under these real world asset classes for the big companies, here we are getting distracted, and here we are distracted by all the real world assets like, hey, I can get a computer and put it on my home. Yeah, but every bill that you need to have that computer connect to the internet and provide all of that real world asset computing power to AI, everything you need to run that computer and your internet is already a real world asset that's registered somewhere else. So here we are trying to escape the matrix by spending money in the matrix. Where am I going with this? We're here. This day has been the days that we're experiencing now, and this great reset that we're currently experiencing is something that I've been preparing for and watching for and keeping my eye trained upon since 2008. Knowing the patterns of what's going on allows me to have a very unique perspective on what's going on in the markets. And all I want to do, the purpose, the reason why I've been put on this planet, is to ensure that to help people find the most user-friendly way to secure and safeguard all their property rights as we go through this. Because I know what their game is, and I've been watching the entire playing field this whole time. And in 2017 is when I knew which coin I would be aligning myself with for the Great Reset, because I also knew why it was started and what it had already accomplished. And this company, and there's AI thinking of putting up balloons again. This company is a nonprofit foundation, and they created a blockchain specifically to go into Africa. This was in 2017, 2018. They went into Africa around the time where we were getting a lot of media about the warlords that were taking over. And they would go in and they would take over banks. They would take over all the financial institutions, and they would just pick sides with whoever they wanted to be on their side, and they would debank the rest. That's what was going on throughout Africa. So this foundation went in with a blockchain, allowing people to create their own accounts in their own banks that were instituted by their communities, so that people could start putting their assets into their accounts that couldn't be turned off by a warlord. That's how they got started. Since that time, they've built an entire operating system for transactions to occur with complete self-sovereignty. What does that mean? It means that today, when I go make a purchase, wherever that purchase might be, there is absolutely no record of that purchase on my social insurance number. Which means I've debanked myself. And I'm here to help everyone else accomplish the same thing, because the people that come into our circle, the people that join our community, they all know the same thing. Our fiat currencies are never going to go up in value ever again. They're never going to make it. They're on a downward spiral towards a catastrophic collapse that we believe is going to be biblical. And none of us have to experience what's on the other side of that. Yeah, some people could say it's a recession, right? It's going to be a recession. And it's not even true. It's another lie. This is simply a wealth transfer. And the wealth transfer is going from one class of assets to another. It's actually a trade of commodities, the commodity of time for the commodity of data. That's what we're going through. And as a result, we've been able to, over the last, because there's lots of us working in such decompartmentalized ways, we've all been working towards this day. And thankfully, we have the technology to make it where any people can come together and say to all that corruption and all of that nonsense that's going on, we can tell them all to go pound sand. I'm sorry, who are you and what is it that you do? Like, we can essentially, I believe, within the next couple of years, take a look at that old monetary system and all the rules and regulations and everything that it provides for people in the name of safety, which are really just restrictions. I mean, we were just talking about this last week. Someone went to go to their bank and pulled out like $7,000, and the bank teller had to ask, what is it? Where did you get this money from? What are you going to use it for? Blah, blah, blah. That is not a world that we need to be living in. And we now have the technology to make transactions. I did a transaction just, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 months ago. I helped someone. They moved the equivalent of $150,000 Canadian. The transaction fees, 17 cents. Do you know how many people they had to talk to make that transaction occur? 0. Do you know how? Did you know also that transaction was made on a public record that is absolutely transparent, and yet with 0 knowledge proof of any identifiable information on the transaction? So we have a monetary system that provides us with transparency, and yet completely completely hides the personal information of the one making the transaction. This is a beautiful place we're in right now. Beautiful place we're in right now. And today, I didn't want to talk about the markets a whole lot, or rather, I didn't want to talk about the charts too much, because I wanted to help people see a context of where it is that we're at and where it is that we're going next. And I can tell you right now that the AI craze is a bubble. All of the things that they're saying AI can do, AI cannot do. And we've talked about this on other calls in the past. And the reason why is because we can't make computer chips capable of processing what they're promising AI can do. It's a pipe dream. Another term for it that we've used, especially in crypto world, is vaporware. It's not going to be able to deliver what they're promising. And yet they're going to make it look like it can. And right now, there's a war going on within the AI community. China just released on the weekend. It's funny, too. 6 days after Trump announces his $500 billion AI project. And this is an interesting development because China came out with a tool and they released it for free. You can go and sign up for it for free. It's called DeepSeek. And you can go ahead, sign up for free for this AI. And the reason why this is significant is because for AIs to compete with a lot of these frontier programs that are out there right now, we got frontier programs are like, Grok, Llama with Meta, we've got Cloud, we've got ChatGPT. These legacy or frontier systems, they were all started up and had to be trained before they could even be released on the market. And that cost averages about $100 million. $100 million to put together all of the infrastructure and train AI just so that you can release it to the public. Well, DeepSeek was built for about $5 million and trained and released. Oh, and the operating costs are about also 1/20th of the costs that ChatGPT uses to deliver the same result. It's a trade war. And the commodity that is being traded right now is AI, with the intention of weakening other nations. So they're now just fighting each other, similar to how we had the race to the moon. And America had to make sure that they were on the stage, the world stage, as being the first ones on the moon. They just had to be. Well, we're doing the same thing is happening now, today. Trump is making sure that America is on top of the world when it comes to AI. And he's failing miserably. I hate to say it. It's true. It's because the mindset of business must be shifted. Paradigms must be re-engineered. The digital world is creating a renaissance that is so profound. I mentioned earlier how people think that there's a recession. No, it's a wealth transfer. The money doesn't disappear. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't get lost. The money is simply shifting from one form into another. And what we're watching, what we're seeing unfold right now are the catalysts that are being created by the old monetary system, the fraudulent one, the one we don't want, the one that has the capacity of turning off people's accounts unlawfully. That system is doing everything they can to hold on to all the power they've got. And for the next little while, it's going to look like they're winning. And I just want there to be that clarity within our group that no, they're lying, they're flopping, they're going to miserably fail, and it will all dash to pieces in the end. Between now and then, we're just going to get the most degenerate money into our bank accounts so that we can properly set ourselves up for what's next. And I believe that's going to be back into real world assets like precious metals, land, art, the things that actually last. You know, I tell people all the time, buy a piano. Why? And they're like, what? No, I don't want to buy a piano. They go down in value so much. Look, I can pick up a grand piano for $7,000 on Kijiji. Yeah, go buy it because it's worth 20. People don't know what things are worth. You find yourself a good piece of art, go to antique stores. You find yourself some good art, put that up in your house. It'll retain its value. Put your money someplace where it goes up in value. Whatever the asset is, make sure it goes up in value because the inflation is going to be insane. And if you don't have something that competes with inflation, you're going to experience it heavily. You're going to experience it heavily. This isn't a recession. It's a wealth transfer. You just need to position your wealth in the flow. And that's why we're here. That's why we're here. Well, I'm going to open it up. I'm going to unmute the lines, ask questions. Let's be social for the rest of the time here. I do have to leave promptly at 8. And then I've got a new group. We've got the new community. Judy, Denise, you're coming back on with me at 8:30 Pacific time. Yep. Okay. So yeah, let's open up the calls here. And Audrey has been having just the heck of a time staying connected.
I love that. Staying connected.
You know, oh, look at that. Goes off again. So it's, you know what? We're just going to blame it on Mexico. They should have called themselves America a long time ago. Never mind. There she is. Go ahead, unmute your lines. Let's go ahead and chat this one out. Any questions, folks? If you're tuning in, I see there's a few people tuning in online. Feel free to leave a comment. I'll make sure that I bring it up on screen and we address any questions.
I have lots of questions.
Go for it.
I think so. First one is the DeepSeek. What do you have? Can you put that in the chat? Maybe the
yeah, sure thing. Let me get the link for it.
And then the debanking. That is kind of what I'm doing anyway, with where I'm at.
Yep.
The other one though is the ShakePay again.
Yep.
I got to get that set up.
Yep, that's a good one. That is something that we're going to be discussing today. within the little group that we've got started at 8:30. We're going to be
Okay.
discussing the different bridges and how to set those bridges up properly so that the money can move freely. Yeah.
So is that in the gaming room?
No, this will be just this group for this week. We'll talk about maybe amalgamating and turning it into a larger group. I don't know that we will. I love the small groups, 5 to 8 size, because otherwise it gets unruly and I'm not able to answer everybody's questions unless I'm doing like a live broadcast. But this will be a private meeting just for this group this week.
So where is that then?
No, not when I say this group. I mean a separate group that has come in and joined as Next Gen Merchants is a private group. They're starting out square one. I'll share the content. But this week here, we're just going to that small group is just going to be meeting with me privately.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then this creating your own real world assets.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I have stuff that I want to create and sell and be out there in the world as a real world asset. So it's creating, like, how do you position that stuff to be the real world assets?
This is my favorite tool coming up here. I just did a search. This is my favorite tool for that. Oh, it didn't stay on the, there we go. This is NMaker, NMKR.io. I'll throw that link in here as well. This is a marketplace where you are able to register your real world assets on chain as tokens. So then you can trade those tokens and make them even conditions of a contract, which then are now enforceable in law. So what does that mean? Proprietarianism 101 is claim your assets as your own. And so NMaker, I just put that in the chat. NMaker is an RWA service. You asked the question, can an RWA be a service? Absolutely. You just need the contract for the service and you can back it. You can put that on chain. And this company provides the creation and the minting and the registration, if you want to use that word, the registration of that real world asset on chain. And you can use either Cardano or Solana with NMaker. Great question. And yes, we'll be doing tutorials on this as well. Just not today.
Yeah. No, I'll probably be asking you questions about it anyway.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Is like, well, my question is, Audrey Lynn, does she have some already in this?
Audrey Lynn hasn't created her account with NMaker yet, but I've gone ahead and gone through the process and minted a few of her products just to make sure that we knew what we were doing. And she's preparing to do that this week. Yeah.
Okay. I'll probably just make my account anyway.
Yeah, get the account started. There is a KYC process. And what's important to note is that NMaker, that's like, I have to do your ID and all that stuff. Confirm your identity.
Oh.
That process with NMaker though is different because they're not accessing the same databases to bring your ID in. They're actually using IMX, which is another great platform. IMX.ID. I'll bring that link in here as well. This company here actually assists people in creating their own self-sovereign self-sovereign decentralized digital ID, meaning you are in charge of creating your identity on the internet. And so this company is who it is that NMaker has partnered with in order to take in your government identification, like the picture ID and all that stuff. And the key here is NMaker never sees your ID. And IMX only takes in your ID with encryption. meaning nobody at IMX can even see your ID, even if it was under a gun. They have no capacity to look at your ID. So the confirmation process that NMaker uses to confirm your account and make sure that it's upheld within the jurisdictions that they have to abide by, they are taking in your personal information with 10,000 times the security that any of our banks would dare provide. The banks can't provide this type of security. Why? Because the governments won't let them. They need to have control over every one of those accounts. Why? Because people don't realize this. Every single transaction that occurs across the world in fiat has to go through a clearinghouse. There's only one in the entire world. There's one clearinghouse, and that clearinghouse needs to know who everybody is making everybody that's making transactions, they need to know who it is. With NMaker and with utilizing blockchain, they can through what's called zero knowledge proof. It's a whole other realm of blockchain. Zero knowledge proof, meaning we don't need to have knowledge of who you are for you to prove who you are. That's the magic. And that's what NMaker has done by plugging in with IMX. So when you're going through the process, it's a little bit differently than when you're signing up for an exchange like, NDAX or Virgo or BitBuy or any of these other exchanges here in Canada. Coinbase, Crypto.com. The process with them is very different from how it works here. It's the same workflow, but the whole user interface is different. So once we get into it, I'm just letting you know, because I know you want to jump ahead and start your account. Just letting you know the process is a little bit different. Be patient, go through it slowly, and know that your ID cannot be seen by anyone, and doesn't get seen by anyone, even though it gets verified. It's powerful. Super powerful, and I think is going to be blazing trails for many other companies here in the future, especially as more people become aware of how they may exercise their sovereignty. Great questions. Does that help? Good. Anything else? Let's go check chats here. Nothing else.
Okay, this might be a silly question, but I have this thing that says show chat, but I don't see the chat where you put those things in, because I'm new to your system.
Okay, no problem. Are you on a like a laptop or a mobile device? Yeah.
Laptop.
Okay, great. On the right side, there should be that little, like a menu, comments, yeah, so on and so forth. So in
No,
there,
I don't have any comments. I have mute, stop cam, settings, preset. That's what
okay,
show chat and exit.
that's
all I
along the bottom.
Yeah.
Over on the right side of the screen. So that would be, if you're looking at me, that would be over this way.
Yep.
There should be a menu that's vertical.
Mm-mm.
Do you see that?
Mm-mm.
No, eh? Okay,
Mm,
let me
That's
just.
why I was like, how do I get to the chat?
Maybe the three dots or the hamburger.
You know what? It's okay.
All I have is exit screen.
Okay,
and
hang
my
on.
little orange dot.
I'll just go in because of course I have an administrator view to the whole meeting. So I'll just go in as a guest here and see what it is that you would see.
Infinite amount of view.
So I got private chat up here.
Oh, you know what? I think it's because here we go. I had it maxed out. Now I see all this other stuff.
Oh, okay.
No, I got it. I just need to hit escape or whatever. I have you on full screen.
Perfect.
Thanks. Sorry about that.
Not a dumb question at all. That was great. I'm glad we got that because yeah, StreamYard is another software that's just a little bit different from Zoom and the other ones we're familiar with. So that wasn't a dumb question at all. Anything else? Somebody has an exotic bird. Must be Audrey in Mexico.
Only for another week. Yeah, one more question. Are you going to be on the game room later?
Yep, starting at 12.
Okay.
Okay, here's another newbie question.
Sure.
Sorry, were you done, Audrey?
Yes. Thank you.
So what's the difference between a meme coin and an altcoin?
Oh, good question. Good question. I'm going to bring up a screen here. This is probably the most, I don't want to say comprehensive. I still get a lot of data from other sources, but this one here is really good to get an overview of what's going on in the crypto world. So we've got legacy coins. That's like your Bitcoin, Ethereum. This page here is coinmarketcap.com. This ranks all of the coins that are registered in order of market cap. So how much value is there in it? So Bitcoin, just be mindful that Bitcoin was at $1.5 trillion just in the summertime. So this has gone up $500 billion plus. Bitcoin is a legacy coin. That's not an altcoin. It's one of the main ones. And it's a layer 1 coin, meaning it is the mothership of the blockchain. Ethereum is another blockchain. It's written differently. It uses different programming language, different encryption, and it adds some unique features like proof of contract or proof of stake. XRP is another layer 1 coin. This is an altcoin because it's not Bitcoin or Ethereum. And it's an altcoin, even though it's a layer 1 coin, it's an altcoin because it's a lot later on in the game. And it also only has a specific direction that it's going. Same thing with Tether. Tether, though, this coin here is tethered to the US dollar. So it's always going to be worth $1 US. Like one of these coins will be $1 US. Solana is an altcoin. It's actually built with Ethereum. So Ethereum is an L1 coin, layer 1 coin, meaning this is where you get started. Solana, however, was built using the Ethereum framework, and it was built in response to all the expensive fees. They wanted to bring the fees down. So Solana is an altcoin. BNB, Dogecoin. Dogecoin is an altcoin now because it's being used for the Department of Government Efficiency headed up by Elon Musk. But before, it was now a coin being used for something. So now it's an altcoin. Before that, it was a meme coin. The difference is an altcoin will have a utility to it, meaning if you have money in it, you can do something with it. Whereas a meme, there's no utility to it. You can buy it, you can go ahead and trade it, but by holding it in your wallet, there's nothing that can happen with it. You can't go to somebody with that token in your wallet and say, look, I have access to your whatever online. It doesn't have that capacity. It literally is nothing. The only thing backing a meme coin is the community that created it. So right now, the way business is going, because of this meme coin phase that we're going through, we have businesses, rightfully so, gravitating towards building communities instead of companies. And that is the major shift that everybody should really be going through when it comes to business. We have to think of business differently because of how digital things are, how social things are, and most importantly, how private we need things to be. So companies have to rethink of how they structure what it is that they do and how they accomplish it. And I think that, I think that we're going to see that play out, especially with the differences that we watch happen with the altcoins, like Avalanche is an altcoin, Stellar is an altcoin. Most of these are all altcoins. But then every once in a while, we'll come up to, let's go look here, Official Trump, the largest meme coin to date. This is literally valued with nothing. There's nothing to this. It's not a company. It's not a stock. It's nothing. It's a coin you can buy. It has absolutely no value to it whatsoever. You can't even trade. I mean, you can trade it for something else as long as it has value, right? But there's no other use to it. I'll give you an example of an altcoin that actually has use. Let's go back to Cardano. And I'm going to bring up this actually. SushiSwap is a decentralized exchange. And SushiSwap is an exchange that is specifically designed. Oh, wait, no, I did this wrong. SundaeSwap. SundaeSwap is a decentralized exchange that operates on Cardano, which is another L1 alternative coin. I'm going to go ahead and click this button. It's going to connect my wallet. In here, I can say, which wallet do I want to use? Well, I'm a Lace wallet guy because it's most user-friendly. So I click Lace, check the disclaimer, and when I click Connect Wallet, it actually brings up my Lace wallet that I have installed on my computer. I authorize the connection. I'm not doing anything. I'm not authorizing a transaction. I'm simply connecting my wallet, my self-sovereign digital identifier, with this exchange. And then it asks for my password. Continue, all done. Okay, so now I'm ready to start trading with this application. This application here would not show me any of this. It couldn't show me any of the assets, couldn't show me where liquidity was. It couldn't show me what orders were being placed on the market. It couldn't show me anything. None of this would have been visible to me because I hadn't connected my wallet. My blockchain wallet is my username and my password to access my account on SundaeSwap. And it's beautiful because now I can swap coins all over the place and there's no connection to my identity. Why? Because my identity to them is a string of numbers and letters. That string of numbers and letters is the only identifiable information that I have attached to my account here. And you can't identify me with that. So an altcoin has utility. Because I have this wallet, because I can operate with that coin, I have the ability to access this decentralized app. I can't do that with a meme coin. There's nothing. I can have all the meme coins. I could transfer all of my money into meme coins and I will have absolutely no utility within blockchain. It's just, I'm holding it. And if I wanted it to grow, then it's up to me to be a contributing member to that community and provide some value so that more people come on board and build that meme, build that community. That's the difference. Maybe a little bit of a long explanation, but I hope that helps.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it does a lot, actually.
Okay. All right. And again, I know I'm going fast as I went and clicked on buttons and everything. All of this is something that we're going to tutorialize and have it where we work like this one-on-one. I'm a huge proponent of having online classes where people can work on their own time, but I also have learned something very significant over the last 2-3 years. People learn faster when it's like this. So I'm going to make sure that all of the things that I'm doing here are things that I teach progressively in a group setting like this, so that we can do this together. And we'll learn it very quickly, way faster than having 30 hours of videos to go through that really are just overwhelming.
So real quick, this Sunday swap,
Mm-hmm.
it only originates like some places you got to start with Ethereum or Bitcoin. So this
Right.
place you can start with Cardano or only Cardano swap.
That's right. Cardano.
It didn't used to be like that though, right? I got into Cardano like a couple of years ago. I don't even know where it is, but
Yeah.
it didn't. Did it used to be like that? I didn't heard anything.
No. This idea of being able to connect and interact with the dApps, it probably is only a couple of years old. I know that it was in 2021 where we were like, I was waiting for us to be able to properly connect these dApps, and late 2021 is when it became a function of Cardano.
So for the government to find out like what you had, it would have to come in and get a warrant and search your house and your computer and your physical wallets.
And the only way that they would even be able to see them is if they put a gun to my head and I complied. And since I'm not scared of death, they get nothing. Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful ecosystem. So freeing. It's quite something. I made $1 million in 2019. I made $1 million tax free. It was one of the most exciting projects of my life. Tax free. That type of freedom is something I can't put a price tag on. I can't even, I wish that there was a way that I could just take it out of my blood and put it into someone else's arm and say, here's what it feels like, just so that they could get a taste. It's amazing to know that no matter what, everything that I consider my property is impossible to take away.
And does that all apply, like what you teach, being I'm an American? Is it the rules and the things that's the same, similar, or similar enough? Or
sometimes at the state level, you may experience the need to use a different language to maintain your posture and your standing in international law. However, yes, the rules of international law are what I'm under when it comes to my property. And so therefore, they apply to you as well. Again, the nuances may be in your local jurisdiction. What is it that you need to be able to tell that goofy guy with the hat and the gun on his hip? Who knows? But I can help you through that as well.
So this is all via language through the law of mankind, or is that the root of it?
Absolutely. And what I gravitate people towards is Lex Mercator. I'm mispronouncing this morning. Lex Mercatoria, which is the law of merchants. Merchant law is actually one of the earliest forms of law that we have that date back before the Dark Ages. And that law is actually the foundation, because it's the principles of law that backs it are the maxims of law that govern international banking. And international banking laws have precedent and priority. They are over and above local, what we call legal jurisdictions. The legal jurisdictions cannot go against international banking law. In fact, if there is a legal jurisdiction that creates legislation that is contrary to international banking law, it's already been determined through Supreme Court precedents to have no effect, meaning it can't be enforced. And the only reason why it's still in there is because there's another maxim of law that exists, which is let the deceived be deceived. And we can talk about the philosophy about that another time. But because it's a maxim of law, no government is required to inform anyone at any given moment that they are being deceived. It is upon us to have the self-responsibility to know the law so that we can exercise our rights lawfully, in so much that we can identify when they're trying to encroach upon our property and properly set up those boundaries, and in such a way that it's honorable. You're not upset at them. You're not causing a scene. You're doing any of those things simply because you're standing and posturing yourself in a different jurisdiction altogether. International banking is a different jurisdiction than your local state.
Yeah. I don't know if you need to go yet, but it feels like this whole sovereignty thing is more about your own internal knowing with zero fear, zero anger, zero against, that then creates that reality as much as anything else.
Absolutely right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're going in this with kind of half-hearted and a bit of fear and a bit of worry, you're going to get and a bit of anger, and you're going to get a whole different reality mirrored back to you, right? Okay, that was my sense.
Great observations. And again, I'm sure now that you can start to see why it is that this little online community is so much different from most of the other ones that are marketed out there. It's because this is way more a mind game than anything else. This is something that's taught, but no one can teach it to you. It's something that you have to teach yourself, and you learn from our experience and what it is that worked for us, right? And that together in this community, it is my intention that we create almost a, I want to say, if I could, a stronghold of diplomacy. Because what we're doing here is totally lawful. It won't be liked by our local states. There's no question about it. In fact, there are people who end up teaching this in course fashion with outlines and bullet points who get arrested. And so I don't. I teach it verbally like this, because then it's the responsibility of each individual to go and apply it. If I'm the one taking responsibility on how you apply it, I'm the target. So I teach the principles so that all of us can practice these principles on our own as individuals, because they can't nail us down that way.
It's very responsible, taking personal responsibility for not being fearful, not being angry, and knowing what to say to the officials. That personal responsibility is huge.
And that is something that becomes a part of your heart, soul, and mind. It really is. The more you're in the language of freedom, the more you can recognize the language of violence or the language of slavery. And you can place your boundaries. And remember, the law is not a sword. It is a shield. And so when you employ the law and you set those boundaries, those little arrows are literally, they just chink off as if you're a dragon with iron thick scales.
Yeah. Well, that's just the whole, that's just the whole mechanism of this reality, regardless of what subject we're talking about. Because, like, for instance, I was told when I was 19 weeks pregnant, that it was basically 100% that it's not likely my baby would live, be born premature. Did I want to, and I was just like, not in my reality. And I never let that idea even enter my field. And my daughter was born at 38 weeks, not perfect, but so that's just the power of what we're capable of, regardless of the subject matter.
That's right.
It just helps to know all the language that the surety is there. So you get
Yes.
that reflection.
Yes.
Because you
And
can just be free even without the language, but the language is quite helpful.
the language is really only used when we need to set up a boundary. That's it. But you're absolutely right. We don't need the language to live free. In fact, that's our natural state. It's not even something we have to go and get. It's something we just start practicing.
I have a friend who's in the postmaster to become a postmaster.
Right.
And what I find in these different groups like that is you have to go through hoops and loops and boops to get your freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that never ever sat right with me. I'm like, I'm free anyway. I just want to be able to know how. Yeah. And that's what I like about this group is it is just the posture of I am free. There's nothing you can do about it, right? Just the attitude. That's what I like about this group is I don't have to go through all those hoops and loops and learn the language because the syntax language and the sentence structure and all of that. I'm like, I just want to be free. I am a human being, not a human doing, and I don't want to do anything to be free.
Right.
I think some of the times with the hoops and loops and the studying and the understanding does help you get it to that you dig out any unconscious stuff that you've got this idea of freedom up here and it, but there's all this shit underneath that you're not aware of. So all the hoops and loops and the studying and different things like gemstone. Okay, you got to start here. That's 2 years. Uncovers all of it. So the surety. I think that's part of that process. That's helpful. So if you've already done some deep excavation of what's underneath there, it's helpful. But
yeah, well, I'm talking more the this is how you have to do it to get out of the government system, right? Like those part. I'm not saying that I'm not uncovering my own, my own shit in my own head, kind of thing.
Right? Oh yeah, I wasn't saying anything about you. I was just kind of
what I'm though is in general, right? In general, it's like I'm always working on myself, and I think that's one of the things as humans is just always creating that better me from day to day.
You guys are talking about something that reminds me of an analogy that I like to use, and that's of course a plantation with slaves. On that plantation with all those slaves, there's someone in charge, usually another slave that gets put in charge as the slave manager. Well, he's on the porch. And he's there telling you that you can't leave, that you have to stay there. Well, who is he to tell you that you must stay there, right? Well, you could leave, but you need permission, right? And so then he does tell you, not on the stage, but on the side of the house, privately, he's like, there is a way that you can get out of here, and I'll show it to you. The first thing that you got to do is you got to find the gate. So once you find the gate, you're allowed to walk up to it. When you come up to the gate, you unlatch it, but make sure that you turn your hand this way. Don't flip it this way. That's too easy. You have to flip your hand this way first. When you push it with your elbow. Okay? Don't push it with your hand. You're going to push the gate with your elbow. And then as it opens up and it's big enough for you to step through, you have to look back at the porch to see whether or not I've given you a thumbs up. And then you can walk. There's the thumbs up. Then you can walk through the gate. The pursuit of freedom can very easily become its own form of slavery. And so I just teach people how to jump the fence. Because you're already free. We don't have to get your freedom. You are already free. It is in the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights that slavery is a crime against humanity. So that means that if you are in a position of slavery where you're working and you're even paying taxes, that would be a crime against humanity if there was no way out for you. But there's a way out. They just don't have to tell you what it is. But you're already free. So yes, our intention here is to show people how to practice their freedom with their being, not their doing.
Awesome.
Yes. Any other questions? I think we'll go ahead.
One last one. The Lex, what is that? Lex?
Lex Mercatoria. MERCATORIA.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, most welcome. Any other questions? This is fun. I like this. We got in another hour. We're going to do it again with the new group there. Did you guys? Denise kind of slipped it yesterday. Dragon Ladies, is that the group name? Is that the official name?
Muted. You're muted, honey. No.
I
Okay.
was just sending Paul an email about getting the link and the info, because Marcia had sent, but she sounded a bit worried that she didn't have it yet. So I just sent a message to Paul and said, the Dragon Ladies want their, because I knew I knew he had a really busy day yesterday and he was making some changes on his website. So I just rattled his cage a little bit. But we do consider ourselves to have some dragon in us. So
yeah.
So I thought, and then you texted me about women called dragons or something. Anyway, I'd like that if we had the dragon flavor in our group.
Yeah.
Did you, just a total aside, did you get my email about starting that other Maui group? That can't join this one because it's too early. But
it's too early. Yeah, we're gonna have to figure out something about that. Okay. I had heard about that. I probably did get the email. I want to make sure that you have my official personal email. I think what's going on is because of the old system that I had, when you've been clicking reply, it's been going to my administrative email that I use for like managing accounts and stuff like that. Okay. So I would definitely like you to have that direct. I'm going to put it up on the screen here. And then that way you can email me directly there and I'll get it way faster that way.
Okay. Yeah, because they're ready to meet up with you.
Okay. Yeah, well, why don't we, if you want, Judy, why don't, when we see each other here in an hour, we'll take a little bit of time and we'll set up a time, or at the very least, give you some times that you can go back with that group. And then we'll figure out a time where we'll meet up on our own and just go over what we did, like go over a Q&A session and figure out a time of the week where we can meet regularly. Yeah,
that sounds great. Thanks.
Okay, great. Awesome. Well, I'm going to go have myself some breakfast.
Me too.
Me too.
Awesome. Have a good morning, everyone.
Bye, Jennifer.
Thanks.
Bye, Jennifer.
Okay,
take care.
Hello, manknownpaul.com. Okay.